Hi, everybody. It's Patrick Escolas with another episode of Banyan's podcast, Tire Tracks. I am very honored to be here with Jennifer Hedrick of Women in Trucking. Jennifer, hi, how you doing today?
Hi, Patrick. How are you?
Thank you very much for joining us today. We've had quite a few different people on the show. I know that Women in Trucking I follow on the LinkedIn is, as I got into the logistics industry, it was one of the first things that came up to follow. So I tried to get and I got some great knowledge from it and a few other resources. So I know a little bit about Women in Trucking, but before we get into the organization as a whole, let's start with you as I start kind of everybody here. What brought you into logistics? What brought you into transportation? I went because there was a job opening and it ended up that's where I'm at. But where was your journey?
Sure. So my journey has been in the nonprofit sector in the Washington, D.C. area for over 15 years. And I've been in the association space and leading a number of different associations, mainly trade associations.
Okay.
A few years ago, I got a position with the National Industrial Transportation League, or NIT League,
Mm-hmm.
and they're an organization that promotes issues around trucking, rail use, and ocean shipping. And
Mm-hmm.
so was their executive director for almost 6 years, and just really loved being with that group, loved the issues that they focused on, and that they advocated on, both on the federal legislative level and federal regulatory level. And so fast forward a few years later, and this opportunity came up. I had NIT League had moved on to a new opportunity with new management.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was managing some other different types of associations that weren't transportation related. And this opportunity with Women in Trucking came up, and I just jumped on it. Wanted to return to the transportation space, and was really thrilled that had an opportunity to do so through this job opening.
That's awesome. What got you into the nonprofit or the association space in the first place?
Really a passion for working with organizations and fulfilling their mission. That was really just an area of focus of mine from early in my career. And then it sort of changed into I was working for charitable organizations, and then I had an opportunity to work with an organization called the Pellet Fuels Institute, which that organization represented manufacturers of wood pellets. Not an area that many people have heard of.
I was gonna say, is it someone just have a stockpile of wood pellets somewhere, or is this fueling something that we're just the average layperson isn't aware of?
Sure. There are things called pellet stoves that
Oh,
folks have.
yes.
They're very similar to wood stoves, except they're heated with wood pellets.
And do they
With
have to be like a very uniform size or
they do.
particular?
There's some specific standards for that. And they're manufactured all over the country by many different companies, and you
Huh.
can buy them and wherever you live, you can buy them at your hardware store, or your grocery store, other types of locations, but they come in 40-pound bags.
Oh, okay.
And so, if you've got a pellet stove at home, you can buy a couple bags of pellets, and then you're
You're
on
you're
your way.
set for a while. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
So with Pellet Fuels, I was doing a lot of work with them on the lobbying front. They had a lot of
Okay.
issues that they were working on before Congress, and also just some coalitions they were building through, like U.S. Department of Agriculture, that kind of thing. And so that focus on trade associations and growing businesses and protecting businesses really felt like home to me
Okay.
at that point. And so
Yeah.
I've really focused on trade associations and working on behalf of trade associations for the past almost 10 years now, specifically.
So you're pretty comfortable that this is where you want to be. That's awesome.
It is, yes. I really enjoy it.
No, that's great. And here we are again. I'm talking to a new person, and we've touched on a small, minuscule piece of everything that makes up all the moving goods that I would have never thought of, wood pellets and pellet fuel. And yeah. And you're like, no, that's what got you into where you're at now. You mentioned with the associations and the nonprofits really driving that mission. What is the mission of Women in Trucking? From the title, I assume it's just putting women in trucks, but I'm sure it's much more robust and defined than that.
It really is, and that's a great question, and a question that I have gotten a lot since I've started with Women in Trucking, both with friends of mine, and as president and CEO of Women in Trucking. It is very broad. We're not just focused on putting women in trucks. We're focused on promoting opportunities for women in the broader transportation space, particularly in trucking. And so we look for opportunities to promote job opportunities for women, to encourage employment, to celebrate the success of women, and to eliminate barriers. So that's really our mission, our core mission. And then, we do that in dozens of different ways, which is really exciting.
And when you talk about something, it's a broader mission, but you brought up eliminating barriers. What kind of barriers are in place right now that specifically for women in trucking, because that's probably more where you're concerned than trucking as a whole?
Sure. So I think let's look at drivers, women drivers, for example. There's been a lot of work done over the years. Women in Trucking was founded in 2007 by Ellen Voya. We've grown to be an organization of over 8,000 members.
I was going to say, I'm surprised it's that recent of a creation date for the organization, for as known and involved as you guys are. So congratulations, you're doing something right.
Yeah, thank you for that, and certainly, credit goes to Ellen Voya and Shar Pingle and the women who built Women in Trucking from the ground up. But when Women in Trucking was started, there were a lot of different issues that women were having. Think about safety issues. If you're driving a truck and need to stop at a rest stop or truck stop or somewhere else. Think about not having a facility to, shower, that kind of thing. Think about, lighting at these different areas and not being protected or not being advocated by just for general safety issues. For a long time, companies wouldn't necessarily hire women. We just had a presentation the other day to one of our member companies where we sort of reviewed advertising for different positions over the years. And, it's just all of the advertisements were targeted to men. And so, barriers of overcoming the idea that women can't do jobs associated with truck driving, that they're not strong enough or they're not assertive enough. So those are some areas that, where we've had to just really eliminate barriers. And so much of that you can probably understand is just convincing people that women can do the job.
Right. And it seems so crazy to me just because of a gender that you're like, no, you can't do that. And I mean, though I will understand, I think the internet will bring up some advertisements for like car sales back from 40 years ago, and everybody's like, no, you can't do that kind of thing. But it sounds like that was still happening here in the modern age. And with that, and you had mentioned, this is interesting to me, where you're talking about how, at the different facilities having the right lighting or the right facilities. I mean, is that something that you have to get buy-in from businesses, or there's just been enough growing population of women drivers that they've had to acknowledge and make those changes? What does that look like?
Sure. So I think a number of businesses have just realized that, wow, we need to change. We need to provide, different opportunities. And, certainly I think there are times when legislation sort of pushes that kind of along. That's one way. But I think there's just a broader understanding of and desire to not only accommodate, but just be sure that people in their communities, women, men, are safe, and that are getting the resources that they need.
Right, because there's a lot of alone time when you're trucking, regardless. And within that, and I know that so from the Banyan side, we used to be very LTL centric, and we talk about full truckload and parcel and everything now. But when you're talking about women in trucking, are you defining what kind of truck you're getting in, or it's really just across the board?
We're not defining that.
Okay.
It's across the board. We have so many types of members. From those that own their own trucks
Mm-hmm.
to that work for large carriers and sort of everyone in between. So we're not defining that. We want to represent the industry in the broadest way we can.
And with that, what are you seeing? I mean, since 2007, you might not have been involved with them, but what has women in trucking as far as the demographic? Like, have you seen a large growth in women in trucking positions now, or is it kind of at a steady pace? What do the numbers look like?
Sure. So we put together something called the WIT Index,
Okay.
and that's on our website, womenintrucking.org, and readily available to anyone who would like to download that.
Go there
Um,
now, so soft call out. Yeah, there you
thank you, thank you.
go.
But really, it just shows where women are right now in a variety of different positions, and
Hmm.
so use that WIT index as an industry barometer to measure, growth and in different areas. So HR, for example, marketing, corporate management, C-suite level positions, women that are on boards, for
Yeah.
example, um, driver rates and growth in that particular area as well. And so, technicians. So we take that information. We have a survey. This year we had 350 companies participate in that. And we use that information, as I said, as a kind of a barometer to see where we are in the industry and where that growth is occurring and continue to occur.
Awesome. And now, would you say it without having the WIT index in front of me? Is this something you guys are proud of where it's at right now, or is there a lot more room to grow and you're not where it should be? And what does that look like from a status? Are you halfway to your goal? I mean, that it's a mission that probably evolves as you continue to support the women in the industry. But how do you feel looking at the industry right now?
Sure. So that's a great question, and I think there's some areas where there is a lot of women representation, and
Hmm.
in certain roles that are sort of known and expected, like HR, for example, a lot of women in HR roles, and filling those roles in large corporations and
Hmm.
small companies within the sector, which is terrific. And then there are other areas that have a smaller representation. So women in technology focused jobs,
Okay.
those sorts of things, technicians, that kind of thing. We're seeing that there is a large growth in that. That's gone from, I think it was 3.5% last year to 7% this year.
Oh,
So a doubling.
yeah, that's not nothing. There we go.
Quite small. But that's an area where we're excited to see significant growth. And then something else that I was really excited to see is that we're continuing to see women represented in CEO roles, and that's continuing to grow, and we've seen growth in that this year as well. And I think it's almost 40%
Wow.
CEO roles, C-suite roles within the trucking industry are held by women, which is great.
That's awesome.
Yes, and the thing that's really, and I that stat is wrong. I'm sorry. It's 30. It's about 32%. So I've
Okay.
overstated a little bit, but
That's all right.
still significant, nearly a
I
third.
round up that much for my
Yeah.
sales too. So, if
But the thing that so as I said, we're seeing growth there, but another highlight that I want to make,
Mhm.
thinking about that statistic, is Forbes this year just said that women hold 10% of all roles, all C-suite roles in Fortune 500 companies. And so that's the first time that that's been in double digits. So
Really? Okay. That was going to be my first. I was to say that sounds impressive. What is it, in relevance to? But that's awesome. So we're seeing trends in the right direction then within that, that kind of equality, or really kind of diversifying the market there.
right.
Yeah. No, and within that and this is a question I probably could have asked earlier, but as you spoke, it made me think of it. You're not solely and are you member based? I guess is the first question. Okay.
We are, yes.
So you're member based, and your members aren't solely just those driving the truck. It's everywhere that touches the industry. And as you're talking about HR and CEOs and technicians, that becomes apparent to me. But I think that just on the surface, my initial thought was, it's just those people driving the trucks, but it's touching a lot more places than that.
It really is. It is. Yes. And we're sort of an interesting organization. We are a trade association, but we're a bit of a hybrid, where we do have individual members. So we have student memberships, we have individual driver memberships, then we have company memberships. And so, some of our members, Walmart and JB Hunt and Penske and Daimler, those are some of our larger members. Those are also leaders on our board. But they have company memberships, and that allows multiple people from their company to participate with Women in Trucking.
And that's got to be, and that kind of was going to lead me to where my next question is. We've had a driver shortage, so I can imagine that a lot of these big companies that might have these company memberships not only would want to push the agenda of getting more women in the industry, but from a self-fulfilling or self-servicing way, is you got to find drivers to fill up those ranks. And for all the people that are either leaving or decided that during the COVID years that they didn't want to do this anymore. What are you guys grabbing young women to get into trucking, or are you trying to grab women in other industries to bring into transportation? What does that look like from an outreach or kind of opening up your demographic numbers?
Sure. So one of the things that we do, we try to educate as many people as possible about the trucking profession, and that starts with young children, and particularly girls. And so we have programs. We have a Girl Scout patch program, where girls within Girl Scouts can earn a patch. And
they just have to do a full 2 loads with the 18-wheeler by themselves,
right? That's exactly right. Yeah.
They gotta get those cookies there somehow.
Yes, delivering the cookies, right? But we have a program for Girl Scouts, to educate Girl Scouts, and we have something
very cool.
Yeah, it is really cool, and we have something that we call Whitney, which is an educational trailer. And that trailer is taken throughout the country, and we try to focus on events with young girls, Girl Scouts, school events, as young as elementary school, high school, community colleges, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where we take Whitney, and we allow folks to walk through Whitney, and we've got interactive exhibits and information on what it looks like to be a truck driver, what the experience is of a truck driver. And then sort of the creme de la creme is a simulator.
Yes.
Where folks can sit down and for a few minutes and experience what it feels like to drive a truck.
I would wreck one in a simulator. I'm pretty sure.
No, it's really the first time I experienced it. I thought, wow, this is remarkable, and it just I have a respect for any woman, any person who drives a truck, but a whole new experience and whole new respect after experiencing that simulator.
I've had to put some jet skis in the water from a trailer, and I hate it. I hate it so much. I can't imagine being on the highway with the whole rig. And yeah, my utmost respect for anybody that has to put up with that, has to manipulate and get that around, people that maybe not is paying as much attention on the road. Plus you're on the time crunch. Yeah, no, I couldn't do it. I could not
Yeah.
do it. And I have the utmost respect for anyone who does. That's awesome. And it sounds like I want to go hang out in Whitney, the truck there. So
Great. You're welcome anytime.
that's awesome. Now, and we had mentioned talking about kind of the driver shortage, some of the company members, and kind of pulling new drivers in there for some of these bigger companies for the numbers. We just had Yellow go down, and that's a big impact on the entire industry. How is that? I'm sure you're keeping a check on the pulse there. How has that affected you guys, or what are your thoughts on that, or what does that look like for where your agenda hits for those
Sure.
members that might have been involved?
Sure. So yeah, I mean this whole situation is just absolutely sad and unfortunate, and for a variety of different reasons, and primarily the number of folks that have lost their jobs,
Right.
thousands and thousands of folks that have lost their jobs. It's hard to imagine that number, but so that's something that we're certainly unhappy about, and just reaching out to all those folks, support. But Yellow provided a lot of different resources for women, and they were really active in honoring women and recognizing women and championing women through their various programs. They were actively involved in Women in Trucking.
Mm-hmm.
They had in 2002, in fact, Peggy Arnold was our WIT Driver of the Year. She's been with Yellow. She was with Yellow for a number of years,
Oh.
and they, as I said, they really put in a great structure in place through their employee resource groups, and had a particular one dedicated toward women and women within the trucking profession.
Mm-hmm.
So it was their women's inclusion network. And so they, we've tried to support Yellow employees as much as we can. We've reached out to many of those, and have had conversations with Yellow members, and have extended membership and other resources that
Right.
we, to just make sure, if nothing else, to make sure that they are connected at this time, because job loss is hard, and a change like this of such significance is hard to navigate, certainly from the practical point, but from the emotional point as well.
Yeah, it makes sense, because I spoke to a few of the Yellow players, or at least one of them in the podcast, I think last year before any of this happened, and they were talking about really trying to find I don't know, if creative ways to get more drivers, and they had mentioned partnering with really trying to get more women into the field. Who are you going to any of the other organizations and being like, hey, we kind of lost our champion in Yellow. Look at what this can bring in for to get more truck drivers, to get more of these support roles filled, because I'm sure, just like everywhere else in the industry, there's still open positions that everybody's wearing 2 or 3 hats, doing 2 or 3 jobs, because the cubicle left to us and the car next to us is empty.
Yeah, so we, as part of our, this is just part of our overall mission. It's something we do, on a regular basis. I think the situation with Yellow has created some, opportunities, probably isn't the right word, but interest, I think, from a number of different organizations, trade associations, and companies, to figure out how to support Yellow in this particular time. But also, how can we, if this happens again, and with another company, how can we provide the support that's needed at that particular time? And we have webinars that we issue, and we've got a job bank, and so we've got resources that we've been trying to direct people to.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing that we have coming up, and it's still a little bit of time away, in November, is our annual conference, and really hoping to use that time for networking, and it's certainly folks that are looking for jobs at any point of any place in the sector can use that time as networking, We have education sessions. And so there's a lot of areas that we introduce people to who may not know, what can be involved or what sort of careers are available in the trucking space.
Yeah, and you say it's coming up in November. Where's it at? Here's get it out there, get the word out.
Sure.
People got to start making plans now, right?
Thanks, Patrick. So folks, another plug for a Women in Trucking event, but also folks can go to our website, womenintrucking.org, and read all about this. It's called Accelerate Conference and Expo, and it's November 5th through 8th in Dallas at the Hilton Anatole. And as I said, we do have extensive opportunities for networking. We have a trade show. We have 6 tracks covering a range of positions and concepts and sectors within trucking. We have 180 speakers.
Wow.
And also opportunities for folks to interact with truck exhibits too. So Whitney will be there.
Yay.
Yes, and some other Reese Across America, other organizations that support women in trucking are there as well. So really an exciting time. We expect over 2,000 people there. And I had the opportunity to go last year, actually before I started with Women in Trucking, and the energy of that show is beyond anything that I have ever seen. So I'm excited about it, excited to return, and just excited about our program that we have prepared.
That sounds great. It sounds very exciting, and Accelerate sounds like a kind of good name for what seems to sound like a high energy, type positive conference or networking event, whatever, event in general that you might put the term on. Going back to one of the points kind of with Yellow and talking to other organizations, as you're going there, talking to these organizations, I'm sure you have kind of a pitch and a slide deck. It's like, what are the key why would an organization want to put in programs or push for more women in their space if they're in the the logistics space? What are the pluses? What are the pros other than, just you fill a position? There's got to be more to it, more that you're selling on that really gets the buy-in. Why would an organization really go in on one of these programs to get more women in their organization?
Sure. So I think from the very basic level, we all do better when we're in a diverse environment. And so, that just very basic level, having people around us who are different and offer different perspectives and different backgrounds, that adds to the strength of us.
Can't be surrounded by someone telling you that you're yes, and by the the exact same situation that you're in with the exact same opinions. No, great point to start with. Yeah.
So that's just the very basic level there. But there's talking about drivers specifically as an example. There's research out there that women are safer drivers. And ATRI has done some research on that, and part of that is because women are better decision makers. Overall, they're more careful in situations, and so adding that to your team, to your driver base, that helps your bottom line. That helps the safety of your company. And then in other ways, we're looking at just enhancing the overall perspective and the ideas that women bring. Women, are have a higher emotional intelligence, and so that's something that brings a sense of, again, diversity to the conversation, but a different perspective than a man, and that's just kind of that's just a natural sort of thing, an innate thing. So those are just a couple of reasons, but again, we're all better if we can have a diverse environment. We can have the perspectives of others around us that are not the same as us.
That's awesome. I like everything I'm hearing. It sounds like you guys are really on it's a good mission to have, and one which kind of everybody benefits from that partakes in it. I didn't have any more questions, but what I do like to offer at this point is I give everybody that I talk to, I get this pseudo soapbox here for all 7 listeners out there, but to anybody that might be listening, whether it's from, just you to the world or you as president of Women in Trucking, this is your kind of chance. I want to give you kind of a, final statement, or just here's an opportunity to talk through my channel about whatever you want to. What do you have to say to the world?
Sure. Well, that's I hope it's more than 7 people, and I expect it is, Patrick. But
I like to stay humble. If I look, then I can't let it go to my head. It's already a big, giant, shiny head. It would take up most of the screen. I keep it low. That way I can't be disappointed.
Sure. No, understood. No, and I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, and I would just encourage folks. When I first started with Women in Trucking, I spoke at a conference with a gentleman who owned a small company, and he said, live in a rural area. All of my employees are white men. I don't know what to do to attract women. I don't know what to do to attract women of color, people of color to my company. I want that, but I don't know where to start. And I said, that I appreciate this conversation. Take a look at our website. We have so many different resources and programs. We're happy to talk to people about, where they want to go with their company to provide resources. And that's really, kind of the crux of it all for us, and really to meet our mission of increasing gender diversity in transportation. We want to be resourceful. We want to provide a roadmap to help others achieve those goals. And so I would just say that's really kind of the final statement. Sometimes it's just that first step, and people may not necessarily know where to go, but it's taking that first step and then being open to the opportunities that are ahead of you.
That's awesome. And here we go. Where's that first step? What's the website again for?
Womenintrucking.org.
So there you go. Womenintrucking.org. Jennifer Hedrick on everything in the logistics industry, why women should be a part of it, where it's growing, and just, November 5th, accelerate, go join them there and do the truck simulator in the back of Whitney. And Jennifer, this has been a great experience for me. Thank you so much for the talk. Thank you for the information that you guys have out there on social media. Like I said, when I first came into the industry, I was just reading the LinkedIn posts, and it was helping me familiarize myself because I came from IT and printers. And let me tell you what, trucks and logistics are a lot more interesting. So please don't make me talk about copiers. But no, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciated the conversation. If there's anything you need from me or Banyan, please let us know. And everybody listening, keep following us. Tune in for the next episode of another Tire Tracks Banyan podcast, and happy to have you. And bye, Jennifer. Thanks again.
Bye, Patrick. Thank you so much.